there's a renaissance, and that we've got a lot of exciting years ahead of us. A lot of young talent out there. We've got young talent. There's young talent all over the place, and then there's young talent like Devin that just had an incredible performance that has absolutely come to his own being, that we know is going to be around probably another 10 to 15 years. So hey, we've got it back, right? So it's showtime.
For real. Yeah, to even be feel like I was a part of that Canelo Sanders being there in Arlington. That was just a spectacle. It felt like I was back at WrestleMania again.
Yeah, I mean that's what you want the people to feel like, right? I mean, you want.
This is crazy.
You want everybody to you want everybody to be excited about boxing. You want people to think about some of these fantasy matchups. I feel like a lot of these fantasy matchups are coming to we just had Teofimo fight Lomachenko. I mean, shit, this is an incredible fight. It was like a chess match. It wasn't action drawn, but I mean, shit, it was like jazz music. There's so many good matches. Even with AJ, what's going on between AJ Wilder and Tyson Fury. All those three guys, no matter what, we know they're going to end up back in the ring with each other. But, we got some of the best bigs of our era, and it seems like there's a precedence for them to get in the ring with each other right now and fight immediately. These are like really, really fantastic times. So, shit,
How do you feel? How do you feel about that Tyson Fury and Wilder 3?
Craft. My ex-fighter Malik Scott is getting Deontay Wilder ready. So Malik Scott or Deontay Wilder's new trainer is one of my old fighters. That being said, knowing what Malik has to offer as far as being a trainer and also being a fighter himself, that's an incredible addition to the team. You definitely can go about it and develop Deontay in ways that he hasn't been developed. I don't know if there's an urgency for them to face, but if there is an urgency for them to face each other, that's definitely a private decision that's being made by his trainer and his coach, being made by Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder. And I assure you, just knowing Malik Scott's character, that they're not going to go on there, haphazardly. They're going to go on there with strategy. They're going to go on there with a plan. As far as Tyson Fury is incredibly cerebral, mean, nasty, a surgeon, precise, and the real deal. I mean, in many ways, I thought, this was not biased, but I thought that Tyson earned the win in the first fight, and we know that he won the second fight. I was okay with the draw because I understand that sometimes things are complicated, but you definitely can't discount, Tyson Fury. And as far as AJ is considered, listen, it's hard not, when AJ fought Klitschko, it was like a Rocky movie, right? So, I mean, the guy, he drops him and comes back. It's the kind of fight that you want to see. And I think that if you keep that in mind, you got these three fantastic bigs out there with a whole bunch of other bigs that are sort of, Andy Ruiz comes to mind. Ortiz isn't going nowhere. There's the guy coming up right now. I can't remember his name. And I hate myself when I remember his name, but he's a slick fighter. I want to say he's coming out of New York, but I don't know. But that's a guy that only has 17 or 18 fights, but he definitely grabbed my attention when I saw him fighting on Showtime. There's a lot of guys out there. It's a fantastic time to be in Boston.
Hell of a time, bro. And so this Tyson Fury and Wilder, is it hard to judge it, or do you?
I don't. The one cool thing about it is that I know Malik Scott as a person. He's got a very, he's a very cerebral guy. He's got a high acumen. They're the type of guys that Malik Scott is also going to be dedicated to video footage and video studies and examples of other great bigs. For me, I tend to bet on. I'm risk aversive, so I try to bet on. I would prefer a little bit more time, but the one thing I can't discount is I don't know how long Malik has been in Deontay's ear. I know that Malik's been involved with the camp. He has a very big position now in the camp. That being said, it's easy. The logical part of me says, hey, I picked Tyson Fury for the fight, But just knowing Malik Scott and his character, knowing Deontay, I don't know how long these guys were preparing for. For all I know, Deontay's been preparing for the rematch with Tyson Fury with a vendetta and a point to prove. And those two have been cooking up something, behind closed doors before they started throwing the footage up all over, the different boxing media outlets. You can't, the one thing in boxing you can never discount is thinking that you know what the other man is up to. Because there's some guys out there, they take that loss and that's all the momentum and motivation in the world for them to become more, dedicated, more disciplined to the craft and become a better fighter. Case in point, Canelo and Mayweather. I seriously do not think that Canelo would have been the great fighter that he is today. In my opinion, the number one pound for pound fighter out there had he not taken that loss with Mayweather. He took it. It made him better. It made him more dedicated. It made his team better. It made them more dedicated to the craft. And now we're looking at Canelo Alvarez. It's just, in Spanish they say garantía, a guarantee. So
really, for real, like, being in Arlington, being able to see, the biggest draw in boxing history in in an arena stadium. It was crazy to see that. Crazy to see where Canelo's came since the fight 7.5 years ago. It's just really crazy because I always kind of had a doubt on Canelo. I always knew that it was always going to be something after that Mayweather fight, but I didn't. I was one of the ones that were like, "Oh man," I always count him out on every fight. Like I was going for, I was like, I think Sanders can get a good competition for him. And
so I don't know if I was actually in the Canelo camp.
Yeah.
So I got the opportunity to be in the Canelo camp for Saunders. I was there with him for 6 weeks, 6 days a week.
What's tell me about that?
One thing that I think everybody should take away is this man is completely dedicated to his process. He's almost ritualistic in the way that he goes about things. He shows up to every day at the same time, like clockwork. His car is parked. He comes in, does his deal, shakes his hand, gets immediately to preparation. It's almost like a monastic life, like a monk. The guy works his ass off, and he repetitiously and tediously does the same things over and over and over again. And that's also a big testament to Eddie Reynoso. The other guys in there that I don't think people get a lot of hear names about: Zamir Lozano and Randy Lozano and Munir, which is the strength and conditioning coach. They all know their places, and it's like Voltron, but it's they do the drills with them, and they make sure they're being mindful of each other, and everything they do have intentions. Every piece of work that they do, if they're hitting a bag, it has intentions. There's no free flow in there. There's intentions behind everything. Seeing Canelo obviously spar, a fighter that I work with, Lawrence King, absolutely, the guy has many different temperaments. I don't think that we've seen the best of Canelo Alvarez. And even knowing kind of how the fight played out with Saunders, the one thing that I heard somebody be sort of critical of Canelo's footwork, but I was laughing because, not to give away too much free game, but imagine Canelo knowing that he had to get Billy Saunders to get close to him. So I saw them do the same thing over and over in sparring, work on the same sort of strategy, work on the same sort of consciousness, work on the same sort of sentiment. I watched Canelo, multiple times use what is by perception bad footwork, so the fighter would get close to him, so that he could switch over to sharp footwork to pull him into range. If that doesn't tell you about a mixture of something that's cerebral and it's strategic, I've never seen anything like that. It's very difficult for me to after being in Canelo's camp and not to pick him against Charlo, not to pick Canelo against David Benavidez, and not to pick Canelo against Caleb Plant. I really don't know if I'm not in those other camps. I do respect the hell out of everybody. I respect what Justin Gambler's doing. Obviously, I really like the Benavidez, you know, you gotta love Ronnie Shields, right? So we know that these guys are all great trainers, but shit, what Eddie Reynoso and Canelo got cooking up, it was a great opportunity for me to go in there and learn, and also see something that was gosh, just incredibly sharp. So I don't know, hard for me to pick against that team, knowing how it is they go about their craft.
Exactly. Like he's actually made me a believer, and I think he finally showed something that I was looking for in him for, in the Billy Joe fight. I couldn't believe how many people came out to see him. I couldn't believe how wild it was in there, the atmosphere, everything. And then how much he put into that card, like all the promotions on the bottom, all the sponsors on that bottom.
It was a beautiful show. I mean, God,
wow, to see another Hispanic, do something big. And it feels good, man. I'm like, dude, even though I'm not, of Canelo, but I know where like I got respect for Canelo. It was just like I needed to see that, and
I tell this to everybody, and you probably understand this as being Latino, is that he has like a Paiza approach, like someone that has a route to cut grass. Every day he works his ass off.
That's just it's so.
He would even tell this, you remember I have Nehemiah Williams. He told me I work my ass off like I have nothing, and this is who this guy is. So imagine Canelo. Trust me, he's got an incredible car collection. He has a lot of things. I've seen his cars on display routinely, but his work ethic is like a guy that's showing up to pound the pavement or to go cut grass. It's very dedicated, and when we see all his success, we see all those people showing up for him. I think that it's hard to see him and not know how dedicated he is. Even when he talks about being in the gym year round, and why wouldn't he fight multiple times during the year? So yeah, he's got it. Obviously, I think Canelo's going to be around another 5 to 8 years. So.
That's insane. And are you going to get another opportunity to be on the on the next camp, possibly, or no?
Yeah. So Lawrence did incredibly well against Canelo, and they definitely asked us back. This is the first camp that Lawrence has worked with Canelo, but I think this is the first camp that he's had a lot more success against Canelo. Now, I say success loosely because it's Canelo Alvarez, and you get the feeling with them is that I try to tell everybody that they have different gears. Sometimes Canelo's in the first gear, second, third, fourth, and sometimes he slams it into fifth. That being said, he's a fighter that could do a lot of different things. I've seen him go in there and not throw a punch for 4 rounds. I've seen him go in there with bad intentions and just hurt sparring partners. We ended up only being the sparring partner left because the other sparring partner, got asked to leave. He didn't get asked to leave too early, but ultimately they appreciated our work. And Canelo assured Lawrence King, who he has a great relationship with, that he would support him as much as he can. Canelo was very monumental in getting Lawrence on that card, although it fell through, as well as Eddie Reynoso. So, yeah, we're definitely going to be back there. And it's a great opportunity for us. It's also just a great work environment. It reminds me a lot of our own gym, just because they're just in there pounding the pavement and working their asses off. It's just, and not, there's fun obviously, but not as much. So it's all work.
Exactly. Yeah, man, this has been one hell of an interview, bro. And I respect you a lot. Got a lot of respect for you and all your people, man, you work with and everything, fighters, promotions, and everything. And getting a chance to sit down and interview with you today, been great for my channel.